Have you ever noticed? The strongest people in the room are the ones who stay silent in front of toxic behavior. Not because they're weak, but because they understand a simple truth: reacting is surrendering power. In a world where everyone gets triggered easily, where anger spreads fast, and where emotions control our choices, Stoics choose a different path. They observe, they understand, and they let go. Not letting go of the person, but letting go of the power that negativity tries to place over their mind. Marcus Aurelius once said, "If someone is doing wrong, your responsibility is not to be angry, but to make sure your mind does not become like theirs." And that is why Stoics don't react to toxic behavior. Because every time we react, we hand over our inner sovereignty. But every time we stay calm, we win, not over others, but over ourselves. Toxic behavior usually comes from unsettled hearts. A person who speaks with cruelty is often someone hurting inside. A person who constantly criticizes is usually someone unable to accept themselves. And someone who explodes in anger is often someone who has never learned to face their own fears. The Stoic understands this. They know that every harsh reaction from others carries the mark of an unhealed inner world. So they don't absorb it. They don't see it as an attack aimed at them. They see it as an echo from a mind that has lost its balance. Seneca once said, "We don't get angry at a child when they stumble. So why should we be angry at an adult who has not yet learned to control themselves?" Stoics choose self-control over self-destruction. They refuse to let others pull their emotions like strings on a puppet. Because they know, whoever controls their reactions owns their freedom. But whoever lets the world dictate their mood lives in invisible chains. The strength of a Stoic doesn't lie in silence alone, but in this: they are clear-minded enough to know what deserves their energy, and what does not. There's a common misunderstanding about the Stoics. People think Stoics don't react because they don't feel. But the truth is the opposite. Stoics feel everything. They hurt, they get disappointed, they feel stung just like anyone else. The difference lies here. They do not let those emotions dictate their actions. They understand that pain is natural, but reacting negatively is a choice. 1. Stoics ask questions before they allow feelings to take over. Instead of reacting impulsively, they pause and ask themselves, "Why does this bother me? Is this pain coming from their behavior, or from my own expectations? If I react in anger, will this situation improve? How would a stronger version of myself respond right now?" These questions act like emotional brakes, preventing them from being swept away by chaos. 2. Stoics look beyond appearances and see the underlying truth. A harsh word is just sound waves. A disrespectful gesture is simply the action of someone who has lost control. A toxic attitude is nothing more than a reflection of a troubled inner world. Because they understand this, Stoics don't label things emotionally. They don't say, "They insulted me." They say, "Someone spoke from their own insecurity." And just like that, half of the emotional weight disappears. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have the power to choose the perspective that brings you peace." 3. Stoics do not take hurt personally. Most people react strongly to toxic behavior because they internalize everything. But Stoics realize a powerful truth. Most of what people do is not actually about us. A stressed person snaps easily. An insecure person attacks to protect their ego. A person lacking love often spreads pain instead of warmth. So the Stoic chooses not to take any of it into their heart. They let it stop at the person who created it. This is not indifference. It is the ability to protect one's inner sanctuary. 4. Stoics believe that pain is an opportunity for growth. Whenever they face negativity or hostility, they ask, "What can I learn from this? How can this make me stronger? Is this a test, or a teacher disguised as conflict?" The reality is, an untrained mind reacts. A training mind observes. A mature mind transforms. What others use to weaken us, the Stoic turns into fuel for resilience. 5. Stoics know that reacting brings no real benefit. If someone insults you and you explode, you have become like them. If a person behaves toxically and you respond with more toxicity, you have abandoned your own principles. If someone tries to pull you into their chaos and you follow, you fall right into their trap. Stoics understand. You cannot extinguish fire by adding more fire. You extinguish it with stillness. 6. Stoics choose to guard their inner power. This is the essence. People can provoke you, anger you, or frustrate you, but they cannot control your reaction, unless you hand them that power. Stoics protect this inner authority as if it were the most precious treasure. Because when you lose your emotional sovereignty, you become a prisoner of the world's moods. But when you keep it, you remain the master of your life. Even if the world around you is in turmoil, calmness is not a natural gift. It is a skill, a discipline, a deliberate practice. And the Stoic understands this. If you want the chaos of the world to stop shaking your inner world, you must build an inner world that is firm, grounded, and unshakable. Below are the principles Stoics use to remain composed, even when facing toxic behavior, negativity, or emotional storms coming from others. 1. Stoics create distance between themselves and their emotions. Most people react before they even realize they're reacting. But Stoics train themselves to develop a unique ability. Observe the emotion as an outsider. Instead of saying, "I'm angry," a Stoic says, "An emotion of anger is arising within me. It seems small, but it changes everything." This shift creates space, just enough for reason to step in before the emotion takes control. Epictetus taught, "It is not things themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about them." And this ability allows Stoics to see events through the eyes of awareness, not through the eyes of impulse. 2. Stoics treat every challenge as training for their inner strength. To most people, toxic individuals are annoyances. To a Stoic, they are weights in the gym of the mind. Someone insults you, practice patience. Someone provokes you, practice stillness. Someone acts with toxic behavior, practice emotional stability. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The obstacle is the way. What irritates us the most often becomes what strengthens us the most." Stoics don't run from difficulty, they use difficulty to deepen their character. 3. Stoics follow the golden rule: choose the higher response. Toxic people try to pull you down, but Stoics pull themselves upward. When confronted with negativity, they ask, "What is the worst reaction I could have? What is the best reaction? Which reaction aligns with the person I aspire to be?" Then they choose the response that reflects their values, not the one that matches the other person's aggression. This is true maturity, not letting others decide which version of you appears. 4. Stoics strengthen their mind through silence. Stoics spend a great deal of time in silence, reflection, self-observation, not to hide from life, but to understand life. Silence helps them see what deserves attention, what is merely noise, what is real. What is simply someone else's projection? So when they face a toxic person, they can clearly recognize, "This is not my problem. This is theirs." Just seeing this truth dissolves most of the emotional burden. 5. Stoics always return to the principle of control. What's mine? What's not? The Stoics' golden triad. 1. If I control it, I act. 2. If I don't control it, I let go. 3. If I'm unsure, I observe. The behavior of toxic people lies completely outside our sphere of control. The only things we truly control are our attitude, our response, our calmness, our integrity. With this clarity, Stoics stop wasting energy on battles that are not theirs to fight. 6. Stoics treat silence as a form of strength. Silence isn't avoidance. Silence is a wisely chosen response. No arguing. No proving. No adding fuel to the fire. No giving toxic people what they want, your reaction. The silence of a Stoic is not surrender. It is a statement. I refuse to lower myself to the level of chaos. This is the peak of emotional mastery. 7. Stoics do not let their kindness become naivety. Calmness doesn't mean accepting every behavior. Stoics know when to walk away, when to say no, when to protect themselves, when to refuse toxic engagement. Their serenity is not passiveness. It is the wisdom and strength to stop participating in anything that threatens their inner peace. 8. And finally, Stoics value peace more than winning arguments. Most people react to prove they're right, prove the other person wrong, protect their ego. But Stoics understand, winning an argument doesn't bring happiness. Keeping your peace does. They don't need victory. They only need self-control. Inner peace doesn't come from luck. It comes from small, deliberate habits, repeated day after day, until calmness becomes part of who you are. Stoics don't wait until they meet a toxic person to practice self-control. They train themselves long before the storm arrives. So when chaos comes, their mind is already strong enough to stay still. Below are the practical habits Stoics use every single day to build an inner fortress no negativity can penetrate. 1. They begin the morning by taking control of their thoughts. The first moments after waking up shape the entire day. Marcus Aurelius had a morning practice where he reminded himself, "Today, I will meet people who are selfish, ungrateful, arrogant, jealous, and difficult." He didn't say this to be pessimistic, but to prepare his mind. Stoics know, if you don't take control of your thoughts at the start of the day will control you. 2. They practice the pause before reacting. One of the most powerful life skills is simply the ability to pause. When someone provokes, insults, or disrespects them, the Stoic doesn't fire back immediately. They pause for 3 to 5 seconds, take a slow breath, and ask themselves, will reacting help me? Or will it make things worse? Just this small pause often allows them to win the battle inside, instead of losing to their emotions. 3. They journal their emotions every day. This is one of the Stoics' most transformative habits. Each night, they ask themselves, what upset me today? How did I react? Could I have responded better? Was this my problem, or someone else's? These reflections calm the mind and reveal emotional patterns that must be corrected. Epictetus said, "No person is free who cannot examine themselves." 4. They categorize everything into within my control and not within my control. This Stoic technique is simple but incredibly powerful. Other people's behavior, not in my control. Other people's emotions, not in my control. Other people's mood, not in my control. My calmness, in my control. My response, in my control. My integrity, fully in my control. Stoics never waste energy on what they cannot change. They invest only in their own mind and behavior. Once you understand this principle, 80% of toxic behavior loses its power over you. 5. They nurture calmness through daily moments of silence. Stoics deliberately set aside time for silence, breathwork, stillness, introspection. These quiet moments recharge their emotional energy. A person who cannot sit in silence will always be shaken by noise. A person who masters silence will not be disturbed even in chaos. 6. They distance themselves from toxic people wisely. Calmness does not mean tolerating everything. Stoics know how to keep distance without drama. They quietly limit the time spent with toxic people. Avoid useless arguments. Refuse emotional traps. Leave the situation when needed. They don't try to change toxic people. They simply protect their peace. 7. They practice letting go of what doesn't deserve space in their mind. A rude comment, a toxic attitude, a disrespectful action. All these can become emotional burdens only if you hold on to them. But Stoics know, the longer you hold, the deeper it hurts. So they choose to release, not overthink, not replay the situation, not carry resentment. Letting go isn't losing. Letting go is freeing yourself. 8. They communicate from calmness, not defensiveness. When a response is necessary, Stoics speak briefly, clearly, calmly, without emotional excess. They know emotions are fuel to conflict, while calmness is water. Not every toxic interaction deserves a speech. Sometimes a simple line is enough. I don't want to continue this conversation in this direction. Simple, but powerful. 9. They build inner strength so no one can control their emotions. Finally, the most important practice. Stoics train daily to become people who cannot be easily shaken. They cultivate discipline, wisdom, emotional resilience, strong values, mental clarity, patience. When your inner world becomes strong, toxic people stop being threats. They become small tests, and you pass them with calmness. Philosophy becomes real only when it is tested in everyday life. Not in books, not in theories, but in moments where our peace is challenged by disappointment, betrayal, and negative people. Below are real, relatable stories that illustrate how Stoic wisdom helps us stay calm and strong in the presence of toxic behavior. 1. The friend who always puts their interests first. Almost everyone has encountered this type of person. A friend who comes to you only when they need something. A friend who disappears the moment you need help. A friend who talks well but acts poorly. Most people respond with anger, resentment, accusations, or a sense of betrayal. But a Stoic sees the situation differently. They tell themselves, this person is acting according to their nature. The mistake wasn't theirs, it was my expectations. So they let go, not because they are weak, but because they refuse to let half-hearted relationships drain their energy. Stoics understand one truth. Freedom comes from accepting people as they are, not as we want them to be. 2. The workplace example. When someone constantly criticizes or undermines you. In professional environments, we sometimes meet someone who, for no clear reason, seems to dislike us. They nitpick small errors, make sarcastic remarks, try to embarrass us, or create unnecessary obstacles. Most people react by feeling hurt, pushing back aggressively, trying to prove themselves, or engaging in mental battles. But the Stoic asks, why should I let someone who can't control themselves control me? They don't retaliate. Instead, they elevate themselves. They work more carefully. They let results speak for them. They choose silence when silence is wise. They speak firmly when necessary. They stay aligned with their values. And something interesting happens. When you refuse to feed toxic energy, the person generating it eventually feels powerless, because they cannot manipulate your emotions. 3. The family example. When toxicity comes from someone you love, this is the hardest challenge. We can avoid strangers, but we cannot easily avoid family. Some parents, siblings, or relatives carry negativity, constant criticism, emotional pressure, judgment, and unresolved trauma. Stoics understand this, so they do not argue endlessly, fight to be understood, force others to change, or take every word personally. Instead, they think, this is their perspective, it is not the truth about me. They love with awareness, set boundaries with respect, and protect their peace before anything else. Because Stoics know, no one, not even family, has the right to destroy your inner calm. 4. The online world, where toxicity is everywhere. In the age of social media, a single careless comment can ruin someone's day. People online freely insult appearances, judge lifestyles, spread negativity, or attack simply because they can. But Stoics understand, toxic words reveal the speaker's heart, not the target. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Those who criticize you do not truly know who you are. So why take their words seriously?" Stoics treat negative comments like a gust of poisonous wind. It passes, but it never enters their heart. 5. The relationship example. When someone you love hurts you, love makes the heart vulnerable. A careless word or thoughtless action can turn a bright day into a heavy one. Stoics are not immune to heartbreak. They feel deeply, but they don't allow the pain to turn into destructive reactions. They ask themselves, am I hurt by their action, or by my expectation? Does this relationship bring me closer to peace or away from it? What is within my control here? And if it's time to let go, they let go with clarity, not with anger. Because Stoics understand, true love cannot survive where there is no emotional balance. 6. The most difficult story. When the toxic person is your past self. Here lies the deepest lesson. Sometimes the one who hurts us the most is not someone else, but our own past self. Past mistakes, unrealistic expectations, emotional reactions, wounds we never healed. Stoics confront this truth gently, yet honestly. They say, I was wrong before, but I am learning not to repeat those mistakes. This is self-compassion. This is maturity. This is the quiet, powerful battle that shapes inner strength. Most people run away from negative emotions. Stoics don't. They face them, observe them, transform them. They understand that negative emotions are like fire. If used correctly, fire provides light. If mishandled, it burns everything down. Below are the advanced Stoic techniques that help turn pain, anger, disappointment, and frustration into resilience, wisdom, and inner freedom. 1. The turning the inner lens technique. looking within first. When a strong emotion appears, Stoics don't immediately ask, "Who's wrong? Who hurt me?" They ask, "What is this emotion revealing about me?" Because negative emotions are mirrors. They reflect fears we haven't faced, wounds we haven't healed, expectations we haven't released, parts of the ego that haven't matured. A Stoic doesn't see others as the root problem. They see their own reactions as the starting point. This is profound emotional maturity. 2. The voluntary discomfort technique, choosing hardship on purpose. Stoics don't avoid discomfort. They train in it intentionally. Small acts such as cold showers, waking up early, physical training, resisting indulgences, remaining silent when provoked. These simple disciplines strengthen mental endurance. When the mind becomes familiar with discomfort, toxic people lose their power. Epictetus said, "No strength is built from comfort." 3. The negative visualization technique, imagining the worst to appreciate the present. This is an ancient Stoic practice. Stoics visualize difficult scenarios: losing someone they love, failing at something important, being misunderstood, facing betrayal. Not to be pessimistic, but to prepare the mind. When something bad happens, they are not shocked. And when something good is happening, they appreciate it more deeply. Toxic people no longer surprise them, because they've mentally prepared for such encounters long before. 4. The view from above technique, seeing the situation from the sky. When someone hurts them, Stoics step outside themselves. They imagine rising above the moment, looking down at themselves, looking at the other person, then seeing the entire situation within the vastness of life. Suddenly, the insult becomes tiny. The offended ego becomes illusion. And what remains important is inner peace. Marcus Aurelius used this technique every day to stay centered. 5. The accept and transform technique, acceptance as a pathway to growth. Stoics do not force negative emotions away. They allow them to flow, like water passing through the hands. They accept sadness, anger, disappointment, unfairness. They don't deny. They don't suppress. They let emotions exist. And then they transform them into lessons, patience, humility, deeper understanding, new wisdom. Epictetus taught, "We cannot control what happens to us, but we can control what we turn it into." 6. The detached compassion technique, caring without being pulled into chaos. Stoics have compassion, but without emotional entanglement. When facing a toxic person, they think they are hurting inside. They are acting from insecurity. They are unable to manage their own fear. They feel compassion, but they do not get dragged into the drama. This is a subtle art. To care, without sinking. To understand, without absorbing. 7. The self-sovereignty technique, becoming the master of your emotional world. This is the peak of Stoic mastery. Stoics train themselves daily to reach a state where no one can control their mood. No one can pull them into conflict. No one can disturb their inner stillness. They quietly affirm, "My emotions belong to me. No one touches them without my permission." This is the power of a truly free mind. A mind toxic people cannot manipulate. A philosophy only becomes powerful when it is lived. Not to make us perfect, but to make us calmer, more aware, more in control each day. Stoicism isn't a philosophy of lofty theories. It is a philosophy of practice, of everyday action. Below are the ways a Stoic brings these teachings into every part of life. 1. In love, loving with awareness. Not attachment. Love is where people lose their peace most easily. But Stoicism teaches us to control less, expect less, react less, think more clearly. A Stoic does not love through possession. They love through presence. I choose to walk with you, but I do not lose myself in you. During conflict, they avoid hurtful words. During misunderstandings, they ask before judging. During emotional storms, they communicate instead of shutting down. And if separation is necessary, they let go with clarity. Because they understand. What leaves you may not be meant for you. 2. In family, loving with boundaries and compassion. Family often creates the deepest emotional wounds. Parents can pressure. Siblings can criticize. Relatives can judge. A Stoic understands. Not everyone in the family is emotionally mature. Not everyone knows how to love properly. Not everyone will understand you. So they avoid pointless arguments. Stop trying to change those who refuse to grow. Set healthy boundaries. Choose patience over anger. They recognize you can love your family without sacrificing your inner peace. 3. At work, focusing on what you can control. Work is full of pressure. Difficult co-workers. Demanding bosses. Tight deadlines. Unpredictable problems. Stoicism helps us focus on actions instead of emotions. Keep integrity even when others don't. Prevent negativity from disrupting productivity. Accept that some things cannot be changed. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Do your work like a person who does what is right, without complaining, without expecting praise." A Stoic does their part faithfully, and leaves what they cannot control to fate. 4. In social interactions, responding, not reacting. When faced with an angry person, a Stoic remains calm. When someone is disrespectful, they respond clearly but without aggression. When arguments become meaningless, they walk away, not because they are weak, but because they value peace over dominance. Stoics follow this rule. Choose your reaction based on wisdom, not emotion. 5. On social media, not letting noise control the mind. Social media is filled with judgment, comparison, negativity, criticism, unnecessary drama. A Stoic refuses to let these things influence their emotions. They do not argue with strangers, do not feed negativity, are not swayed by praise or criticism, do not let online chaos define their worth. They understand. The words of those who don't know you cannot shape how you feel. 6. With yourself, practicing discipline and self-compassion. Stoicism is not just about dealing with the world. It's also about dealing with yourself. A Stoic asks, "What can I improve today?" Journals their emotions. Practices small disciplines. Avoids excuses. Forgives themselves but does not repeat mistakes. Aims to grow even 1% each day. Because they know the greatest victory is mastering oneself. At the end of every lesson, after all the stories, the disappointments, the hurt we've carried, and the reactions we once regretted, Stoicism leaves us with one simple but powerful truth. No one can take your peace, unless you hand it to them. It's not toxic people who hurt us. It's our expectations of who we wanted them to be. It's not their words that wound us. It's the way we allow those words to enter our heart. And it's not the chaos outside that destroys us. It's the instability inside. 1. Peace is not a place you reach, but a person you become. Stoicism never promises that life will be easy. It never promises that people will always be kind. It never promises that luck will always be on our side. But Stoicism does promise this. If you control your reactions, you control your life. You don't need the world to change. You only need to change how you see it. 2. The silence within you is stronger than the noise around you. We cannot always avoid toxic people, but we can always avoid letting them live inside our mind. A Stoic walks through chaos the way a calm traveler walks through a storm. Steady, grounded, knowing. The storm exists outside, but inside me is a still lake. 3. Every moment you stay calm, you grow beyond who you were yesterday. Transformation doesn't happen overnight. It happens in small, invisible victories. The moment you hold back a hurtful reply. The moment you choose silence over arguing. The moment you release expectations that no longer serve you. The moment you refuse to let someone else trigger your emotions. These victories are quiet, but they reshape your entire being. They are victories worth celebrating. 4. Living like a Stoic isn't about being cold, it's about being free. Free from impulsive emotions. Free from manipulation. Free from long-lasting hurt. Free from reacting the way others want you to. Most people ask, how do I stop others from hurting me? A Stoic asks, how do I stop giving others the power to influence my emotions? And that is true freedom. 5. Final reminder, your inner peace is your responsibility. No one can protect your peace for you. No one can think for you. No one can choose your reactions for you. Everything rests in your hands. You only need to reclaim the inner authority that you may have unconsciously given away. And from today forward, choose to live like a Stoic. See deeper. React less. Observe more. Release what you don't need. Guard your calm like a treasure. Because once you master your reactions, you master your life. If you've stayed with this video until the very end, it means something important. You're not just learning Stoicism with your mind. You're beginning to live it with your heart. And that is the very first step toward transformation. Because peace doesn't come from a gentle world. It comes from you becoming stronger than the world around you. Tomorrow, you will still meet difficult people. You will still encounter toxic behavior. You will still face situations that test your patience. But from today onward, you have something you didn't have before. Self-control, clarity, awareness. You now know how to pause before reacting. Protect your emotions from others. Stay grounded when someone tries to pull you into chaos. Rise above negativity instead of sinking into it. You've already taken a step far beyond who you were yesterday. And if you want to continue this journey, remember, Stoicism is not a destination. It is a lifelong path. A path where each day, you become calmer, wiser, stronger, more free. When you master your reactions, you don't just change how you feel. You change your entire life. If today's message helps you feel even a little calmer, a little lighter, a little more in control, then subscribe to the channel for more deep Stoic teachings. Like the video if it brought you value. Share it with someone who needs peace today. And leave a comment so we can continue growing together. Stoic Scrolls will keep bringing you lessons, stories, and insights to help you master the most important thing you will ever master. Thank you for spending this time with me. Wishing you a peaceful day. and a mind as steady as stone in every storm.